Ni hao annyeong, hello, I am the Dark Fae, and welcome back to Confessions of a First-Time Dungeon Master. As always, if you missed the last session, I'll put a link to it up in the corner for you over here. You can go check it out, catch up on what you missed, and then come back here to find out what happens next. We are now on session 54, so let's begin. So, after the combat concluded last time, we were basically picking up right at that moment. So once the frozen guardian has sort of crumbled and cracked to pieces, and what happens is that the orb, which is encased in this kind of block of ice, the block actually kind of ends up splitting pretty much in two, so that the orb is kind of like stuck in the pieces of ice, roughly in half. Like there are some shrapnel, some little shards that break as well, and then kind of radiating out from this pedestal, cracks appear and kind of run up the different walls of the chamber, cracking into like a faint kind of relief etching of like the symbol of a moon that is within the wall, kind of representing Wistria's influence. So as that happens and the cavern starts to rumble, I wasn't terribly mean about it. Basically, I described it like because of the structure of this place and like the thickness of this ice wall that is situated at the north of the frozen wastes. Basically, I described it as like the ice shards and stalactites kind of at the top of the chamber have been kind of shook loose or have cracks and are now falling. So luckily the area kind of below the opening, below that spiked pit, is relatively stable. So as they gather under there, they're decently safe from kind of the falling debris. They do bring Puck's body with them. Beverin, not sure if Beverin or if actually just the player metagaming a little bit wants the pieces of the orb, so he along with Var work together to kind of extract the orb pieces from the ice, and it technically would have taken longer, but Var used chromatic orbs, fire damage to kind of help melt it, and I said sure, you can use Mage Hand a couple of times to gather the orb pieces. I do have them roll a dexterity saving throw for the falling bits of ice, so they do take some damage, and it's a good thing that they were healed with a mass healing word, because it actually might have knocked them unconscious, because at the end of the battle they were all in single digits. So after they gather the orb pieces, which is not necessarily a good thing, considering the last time they had an orb and collected them, they found out that Wistria could basically listen in and watch them through those pieces. So it's gonna happen again, and now Wistria absolutely knows who is responsible for destroying this orb, and that will be interesting if she decides to take revenge, but that might come later. But anyway, it might have consequences, let's say. So after gathering up the orb pieces, they all huddle beneath the pit, and Beverin casts Rope Trick to 60 feet upwards into a small extra-dimensional space where they can kind of wait out the shaking of the chamber and take a short rest. So they do so, listening out for any potential creatures that might be alerted by the commotion in this chamber, but it is deep enough, and the kind of residual strange magic of it has kept creatures away, luckily. So they are safe and are able to take a short rest. Afterwards, they climb up out of the pit after some time and make their way back outwards For navigating out of the ice caves, I kind of have them roll just a group survival check, since I know for a fact that none of them made a map, and because the tunnels are quite complicated, they roll really badly. I think 2 people roll above like a 15, well, which is not necessarily the DC, but it was like 2 people rolled natural ones, and then there was like a 9 and like I don't know, it was bad. So they basically narrate that they take a wrong turn, and from the tunnel ahead of them, they end up hearing a kind of sound of like many legs going down the tunnel, moving towards them. So very quickly, Bevan once again casts Rope Trick, just in time to avoid a remorhaz that is that potentially heard them or felt them and came to investigate. After a little bit, or after not being able to find them, the remorhaz continues on like in the direction that they had come from. So they do a little bit of scouting with Bavrin's bat familiar, deem it safe to continue, and we roll survival checks again. I give them advantage this time because they scouted and looked ahead with the bat, so they kind of have an idea now of where they are and how to get out. So, once they exit the cavern, they meet back up with Merrigan and the Warforged. It's currently like pretty late in the day, like late, or getting on to like dusk, I would say. So they end up settling down for a long rest, telling Merrigan a little bit of what happened, and kind of informing him of Puck's untimely demise. They all have like a drink, share some memories. It was kind of curious this game though, because our bard Basil had to join late because he had some prior obligations. So Puck was actually playing Basil temporarily because he has not come up with a new character yet. Basically, they cast some sending messages to Asmodeum, the Emperor Lord, informing him that their business is done and that the Warforged body is here in the frigid wastes. They also kind of ask if he can pick up Puck's body when he's here, which is, I mean, technically possible, but wizards do not have the ability to resurrect people, and in Elith Malar, which is kind of a tower full of wizards, there's not really the capability to do so. So this was kind of a interesting part where I'm a bit torn, I guess, between like the way that I'm DMing, or like the premise of this campaign versus what the players want to do. Because when I laid out the campaign, I told them that this was going to be like difficult and that like character death was going to be a thing, and that like character death can be permanent, and they were all like, yeah, that's cool, that's fine, we understand that. So like as they were discussing ways to potentially resurrect Puck, which they don't currently have in the party. They don't have this capability in the party because A, they don't have components, their cleric is not a high enough level, and so they just don't have, it's been longer than a minute, so they just don't have access to Raise Dead or any of the higher level resurrection spells. So they kind of started to metagame discuss a little bit that maybe they could ask for another favor from Vernay, because they know that Ruatheri, who is the one who revived Valhyri, is capable. But, and like one of my players asked the player playing Puck, metagame wise, like, it's kind of like, well, it's up to you, like, how are you feeling? Like, do you want to continue with Puck, or do you want to make a new character? To which he was like, I don't really want to bother thinking of another backstory, which I have words about later. But that's, in my mind, like, that's not really their decision unless I'm the one offering it. Like, I offered it to Valkyrie for a couple of reasons, because A, I knew she really liked her character, and B, because I kind of messed up that encounter, or that, like, enemy's effect. So, and because, like, their patron, like, Ferney, does have a soft spot for Valkyrie, and so because, like, she died in attempting to do this task for the Grim Knives, she kind of felt responsible, etc., etc. But, like, in this case, they have no motivation and no reason to revive Puck, and probably wouldn't, especially since, like, I told them, like, DMing wise, that because they already have had a favor from Ferney to revive Valkyrie, which she technically wasn't supposed to do, and because, like, they don't really know Puck, it's going to be, like, very difficult to actually revive them. Like, they can certainly try to persuade them to do so, but it's going to be difficult, at which case they're like, yeah, okay, fine, then we'll leave Puck's character here. So, I don't know, it was kind of, I think it makes sense for the game, given the reasons that I've just laid out. But it just kind of, I wasn't very happy with it being, like, a character. But, like, at the same time, I understand that, like, DMs should run the game in a way that is fun for the players. But I don't know, I don't think that things like resurrection should be that convenient. I don't know. And I'm also gathering that my party, like the players, are really lazy when it comes to making characters. Like, it's like, it was really difficult to even get them to make these ones in the first place, probably because we'd kind of just made new characters for a different campaign with, like, our original DM not that long ago, and then we switched to me as a DM. But, like, if you're into D&D, I don't know, I make characters, like, left and right. I have a million characters that I want to play. I subscribed to D&D Beyond just so I could have more character slots to make. So, like, I don't really understand, like, the reluctance to make a new character, or, like, to come up with a backstory. Like, it's not that much work, and I don't know. If you enjoy the game, like, is it really that much of a chore? So, anyways, so he's gonna come up with a new character. He's thinking barbarian, but I don't know, that was, like, a strange moment. I wonder how any subsequent player deaths are gonna go. Because, yeah, I think also once they hit higher levels, then, I mean, they're already level 8, so I feel like the time, like, for, like, leniency and be like, okay, sure, you can get, like, a free resurrect is, like, over. Especially because, like, the fact that they don't have components is a little bit on them, and some, like, unfortunate circumstances where they weren't able to complete some quests. But, like, if they keep like wanting to do quests for favors, but, like, that's not how you get money, and that's not how you get paid. So it's like, okay, if you want these favors, sure, but, like, you're not gonna be able to, like, fund any of your quests. Like, you can't expect people to just keep handing stuff out to you because they want something done, right? I don't know. Anywho, as they take a long rest, or wind down to take a long rest, Rick does cast Speak with Dad on Puck, which is interesting because since Puck is there to like answer player-wise, kind of asked some last wish kind of questions. I was asked like, who's your favorite? Which he replied, Basil. Did Puck want to join the group full time? Yes, he did. And whether or not he had family, he has an Auntie Tic Tac in Bezernal, which is the kind of gnomish or like farming community that he is from. Family burial traditions. He's had a sky burial where they like leave the body up and let like the birds and such pick at it. And then lastly, who gets your stuff? To which he also replied, Basil. So we'll see how that goes. So they're aiming to get the wand that he had back to his aunt in Bezernal. I don't know. So after that, they take their long rest in this little kind of cave-like area along a tiny hut. Basil finally succeeds on his Constitution saving throw, so he's no longer exhausted. And now it is their journey back to Reed Post, as they had set up a kind of rendezvous with both Fernay's people and with Captain Nyrabrax's people in about 4 to 5 days. So they start their journey. I have them roll for events, and the first day, everything's fine. Weather is fair, and they are able to shave off like half a day on their journey, which is nice. On the second day, they roll an encounter where, guess what? A remorhaz pops up out of the ground in one of the ice tunnels beneath them and attacks. So, that was a fun encounter. Remorhaz, I don't know why, or remorhaz, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, is like one of my favorite like creatures. I'm not sure why. I reduced the threat a little bit, so I did like a little bit less damage. But since it's a single creature, I mean 6 characters. It would be 5 with Merrigan, their guide, also helping. It's not that difficult to take down a remorhaz, who can only really bite once. Given its heated body, which I guess I can put up its stats here. Given its heated body, which does 2d6 fire damage to anything that touches or attacks it, it took quite a bit out of Tyrell, who was the one who ruled the lowest on the check to get up the rope trick that Beverin tried to put up in order to avoid this. So they decided to fight it. The remorhaz, took quite a bit of damage, while also dealing quite a bit of damage to Tyrell and Basil. So Basil came down from the rope trick, tried to move away from it, and so he was bitten with an attack of opportunity. Remorhaz's attacks automatically grapple and restrain you, and then come the remorhaz's turn, bites at Basil and swallows him, and then proceeds to tunnel downwards. So once again, it is sort of a chase down into the tunnels to see if they can revive Basil, or retrieve Basil, kill the remorhaz. Basil does go unconscious inside of the remorhaz's body. Tyrell goes unconscious from the fire damage, but eventually, since the remorhaz was already looking quite hurt when it started to burrow, they're able to kind of catch up to it and kill it, thus releasing Basil from its stomach. And we ended the session with them kind of taking their long rest for the second day. So I'm excited for the next day because then there's some fun encounter stuff that I get to throw in, and I get to also have a little one-on-one talk, hopefully, with Basil about his potential patron, but he gets a little bit of a bonus from the entity in his ring. So that will be fun for next time, hopefully. I'm kind of hoping that they not take the bait, but that they explore this next avenue. But I have a feeling that I'm also going to have to come up with like a potential plan for if they want to go and fight Sincane for the second time. So that's session 54. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for notifications when I put out new videos. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!